Hey there, are you ready for our next riveting experience? Well, buckle up, the fun and excitement is about to begin. Okay, well I figured while I had it upside down I might as well install the transducer. Now, I suppose it would probably be a good idea if I read the instructions, because, you know, there might be something important in there. But it looks really obvious to me. And I'm a man, so I'll read those when it doesn't work. Yeah, so obviously the screws came in the package and you have a real obvious hole pattern in the top of the transducer here. So it's just a matter of through bolting into the top of the transducer to attach the bracket. So I just worked through that. Now perhaps you'll notice that there's a couple of extra screws here. What I noticed was that the other plate on the other mounting system, that looks like it's for the mounting it to your boat motor. That has multiple screw holes that aren't used in this version. Oh, there's one right down in there. See, should have read the instructions, I would have seen that. But in this case, machismo prevailed. And I somehow managed to realize that hole right there was to be able to put a screw in. I'm looking at this thing that comes with Garmin, and that looks like some pretty cheap chintzy plastic. I foresee myself rebuilding that out of aluminum after I've broken it. I will break it because I'm notorious for that sort of thing. So here I am struggling to get this bracket on there, and I'm installing it like I saw an image of it in the instructions. Don't tell anyone I actually looked at the instructions a little. So yeah, looks like I haven't figured out that I have it on there upside down yet. Oh, there we go. So it looked like that it was how it was intended to be mounted, but there's no way that's going to fit. So I have to use my cranium a little bit, figure out a better way. It's this one. Okay, there is a rubber washer. Gotta look that up. I don't know which side that goes on, and it probably matters. It goes like this. I'm just looking at the exploding diagram, and I quickly perused the text, and I didn't see it mentioned out specifically. But that little gasket, I don't think, after looking at it, would make a whole lot of difference, because it's there simply to allow the bracket to flex so that you can adjust the angle. If you didn't do that, then you just grind that plastic in there completely. Oh, it's a wrench after all. It's got a recess that's a socket in there. Knucklehead. Probably noticed that my little pea brain hasn't figured out that I need to put the bracket on upside down yet. We'll get there. Well, if I'm going to mount this in there like that, then the darn thing's going to stick up. It needs to be down in there all the way. Now I recognize that this is a side scan, but I want that down there. I want it lower. That's still not low enough. I may be rebuilding this out of aluminum before I ever mount the darn thing. Not happy with that at all. want that down there probably another ½ an inch beyond this.
If you listen really closely, I think you can actually hear the gears grinding in there.
Yep.
It'll come to them. Just wait.
Okay. This bracket right here is not for a kayak. He's not for my kayak.
Oh, Pat, you're giving up too easy. You got to think about this just a little bit more.
Well, hold on a minute. What if I 180 that? Let's do that. Let's 180 it. Let's see if that makes a difference.
I told you. I eventually get it. A spark of ingenuity is what we were looking for.
From here that way. Do this. That. Yeah, let's try that. Not how it's supposed to be, but yeah, absolutely. Upside down. That's how it's supposed to go, Pat. Yep, that's what we're going to do. Oh my gosh, that's really exciting. Now before you all start freaking out and saying, oh, it's a side scan, you won't be able to see anything. Well, I've seen some other people who've mounted this guy right here in this position and said, hey man, it worked fine. So I'm going to go with the Haymans. Alright, now I'm going to think most people leave this in. But I think that's in there as a spacer because that's the thickness of this bracket right here. And they have to put this in so that these guys don't bottom out. I think that's of no value. And I'm going to see if I can... These guys fit. If they don't, I'm going to get some different ones. Oh, look at that. Oh, wrong one. Let's try this one. Nope. Alright. I am going to get some block washers that are slightly larger. Alright. These are, I think, too big. What I'm trying to do. Actually, I think those are alright. Yeah. They're stainless too. Bonus. You know, I spend a large portion of my life picking up stuff that I drop.
Now, eventually here, I'm going to realize that these holes don't line up. I went and found some custom screws to make all this work, and I didn't even look to see how close together those inserts were and how they lined up with the Garmin bracket. And I'm trying to put the transducer on upside down too here, which is not exactly helpful.
Probably going to be some voiceover on this explaining just how inept I am at some of this stuff. That voiceover guy's a pain in the ass. Yeah, particularly when you mount it upside down, you numbskull.
Yup.
See, that's the voiceover guy right there. He's going to start slamming me.
We're closing in on the obvious part here where the holes don't line up. about 5 minutes later, and I finally got the first screw started.
Oh my gosh, I got it started. She's going in. All right. Next. I don't know if you noticed, but I brought a few spares in case I drop something. Yeah, that's how it works. Are you kidding me? Those holes don't line up. Is that true? How's that possible? Yes, they do. Okay. Can be.
This is where the creative juices come into play again.
This is what I created. So it's a new plate. This is what was on there. This is what I created. That's the difference in the hole pattern between the bracket for the transducer and the holes that actually mount this plate to the hull. So that's the size that I have to have, and this is the size that I need for the transducer. And so thank you, Garmin and/or Wilderness, whoever's responsible for not having a standard hole pattern. Thanks a lot. But anyway, this is what I had to come up with. It's the best I could come up with what I had laying around. This piece of white plastic I had in a bin. So that's what I'm using. Let's see if it fits. You know, measure once, cut 3 times. I should probably mention that I threaded these holes for the bracket. They have inserts in this, and I could have used inserts. It was just more work. It was easier just to run thread in there, so that's what I did. All right, let's see if I got these bolts cut to the right length. Let's try that. Somebody put a squirrel in that hole. All right, let's see here. All right, that little guy's mounted in there. I'm halfway home. Now let's try this. Make sure you put it in there right side up, or the smart ass. How am I going to get to those? How am I going to get to those? I'm going to have to do that. Hopefully I can get to them.
So what I realize here is that getting to those holes around the transducer is going to be a real challenge, and a lot of swearing and frustration happened throughout this process, but I did get it screwed in there, and it was difficult to do.
All right, we're about about half an hour from being done, about a half an inch from hitting, so that's pretty well protected, I would say.
This is literally like 20 minutes later. I finally got both of those screws started, and I recognized that I had it at about the right height, and so from here on out, I'm just tightening down the screws, getting them tight.
I really don't think that's coming out of there. Are we still a half an inch? Oh, wow. We're like right smack even. Up an inch. Well, I can loosen these a little bit. and push it down.
So that bracket is slotted, and in order to adjust the height, I have to loosen both those screws back up just a little bit and push it down. And I want it to be like a quarter of an inch below the bottom of the hull, so I have very little chance of hitting it when I'm loading and unloading. So that's what I'm doing. That's an expensive piece, and I don't want to mess it up.
All right, now we're about a quarter of an inch. I like it. Oh, yes, I like it.
Yeah, somehow I didn't get that bolt tightened all the way down that it pivots on, and so I need to tighten that down a little bit.
Okay, check out this little number, huh? I got that little end wrench fits on a nib, and put that in there, tighten it up that way. Oh my goodness. You know, the harder it is to do this stuff, the more likely it is to fail when you're out on the water. Much. Okay. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get it. Yep, I like it. Okay, I'm about a little less than a quarter of an inch clearance there. A little bit more than a quarter of an inch clearance in the front. This slopes up a little, obviously. All right. Now, my big concern here is that if I'm pulling the kayak out of something and it hits this, that it would grab it, yank it up, break it all to bits, which is only likely to happen at 5 a.m. of a tournament. If I'm just going out for fun, it'll be perfectly fine. It's when the chips are on the table, and that's when everything goes to poop. Whew. All right. Now, this guy is meant to capture said wire. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to put a zip tie on that. Of course, the only zip tie I could find was a 4-foot long one here, but it'll work. Yeah, I exaggerated a little bit. It's only a foot long, but still long. Freaking zip tie. Okay, now, most of the documentation and videos that I've seen is people saying, don't tighten your zip ties down real tight on your cabling. It affects, when you crimp it, it affects the interference between lines, conductors inside there, so it should be relatively loose. And all I want to do is make sure it stays behind that capture, and then this guy will go. Everybody else has been drilling a hole here and doing a through wire. I may do that. I don't know. Really kind of depends on where I want to put the fish finder and how far it is. But just in case Garmin watches this, you know what would be really cool is if you had two sets of these transducers, one with a 35-foot cable that you normally supply and one with a 5 or 10-foot cable. If you made it a 10-foot cable, that's going to fit just about every kayak. 12-foot maybe, but certainly not 35 feet. And the funny thing is that the longest cable that you'll find on a transducer is the one that goes with that Striker 4. Who the heck buys that little thing to put on a boat? It's perfect for kayaks, but kind of ridiculous for big boats. Okay, anyway, that's how I installed it. You got to watch. Probably not much of an entertaining video, but you got to watch. And if you made it this far, like and subscribe and all that yummy stuff. Thank you.